Okay, we started yesterday. Yesterday we learned about a machlekes regarding a sukkah that we said we have machlekes Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbanon regarding a sukkah which you stole the ground of the sukkah, which means the focus of yesterday's Gemara was to bring out a machlekes regarding where someone goes and he takes the ground on which he takes someone else's ground. Either he takes the Rishus Rabbin, or he throws his friend out of the sukkah. But essentially, what he's really doing is he's performing the mitzvah on the ground on a sukkah on the grounds of someone else and the sukkah of someone else. And we said that's a machlekes. The Rabbi Eliezer and Rabbanan, whether you can be yotze with someone else's sukkah. According to Rabbi Eliezer, you cannot be yotze with someone else's sukkah. So whether you consider this a stolen sukkah, whether karka is zealous, then it's a problem, or whether you say that no, it's not stolen, but it's like a she'ula. One way or another, it's not yours. You got to have your sukkah. Okay, right? And then we said that the Rabbanan held that it's okay because karka is not stolen, and therefore at most it's considered like she'ula. Right? Karka is not stolen, and at most it's going to be she'ula. And if it's she'ula, then you can be yotze with someone else's sukkah. That's Rabbanan Zippin, you can be yotze with someone else's sukkah. But Avada, the Gemara says, if you went and you took eitzim, this is an important point just to have in mind for today's shir. The Gemara said yesterday that if you took eitzim, you took wood, and then you went and you put it on top of your sukkah, you took twigs or whatever, or pieces of wood, and you put it on top of your sukkah, you fashioned it, you put it on top of your sukkah, at that point, everyone agrees you're yotze a mitzvah. And the original owner, has something called the me'etzim. Why does he have the me'etzim? We said because he only has the money value. Rashi said two things. Rashi said because you acquire the eitzim with Shina Maisa, Shina Hashem. But Rashi also mentioned something which is important for today's year, something called Takanas HaShavim. Takanas HaShavim is anytime you took something and you built it within a structure, in order to help a person do tshuva, the Chazal said that a person only has to return the monetary value of what he stole, and he doesn't have to return the actual beam, because that would make tshuva very hard for people. That was yesterday, and then that was yesterday's Gemara. Then we concluded with a story which illustrated the whole Takanas HaShavim. How did that story? What was that story? We had this elderly woman, which the bottom of the Reish Galusa stole her wood and built a sukkah in a sukkah. And she said that all the Reish Galusa saying a stolen sukkah, and Rav Nachman didn't answer her. And we spoke it yesterday, a Ksam Sefer, I believe it was, that says that he didn't answer because he was trying to be doing it for her benefit in order that she can get back the wood. But for what's important for us, what we need to know for today's pshat, for just to have in mind, was that Rav Nachman says she only has the me'etzim, because again, for this something called Takanas HaShavim. Today we'll see it, Takanas HaShavim referred to as Takanas Meresh, which means Takana of a beam. And that's what we're up to today, which is that this enactment of Chazal, that a person, if he steals something and he builds it into a sukkah, he only has to return he builds into his structure, he only has to return the value of whatever he stole, but he's not required to demolish all structure. And today we're going to see that chiddush is even going to apply to a sukkah. You may think that if I built a house and I put it within a house, so therefore when I built a house with a stolen beam, then I'm not required to demolish the whole house and take apart the beam. But if I built a sukkah, maybe a sukkah which is kind of like temporary, it's only for 7 days. Maybe a person can get that's kind of what the story was about a sukkah. But so today we'll see a further discussion of that. That even a sukkah which is for 7 days, a person has it. A person has a right. A person only has a right to the money. Amar Ravina. Now that's where we're halfway down the Amid. Amar Ravina. Hai keshua de matalalta. This beam of a sukkah. Kshura de metalalta, the beam of a sukkah. Kshura is a beam. The metalalta metalalta means a sukkah. The gzula that was stolen. The gzula that was stolen. So hai kshura, this beam, the metalalta of the sukkah, the gzula that was stolen. Avdilei rabbanon. Takanta, the Rabbanan made an enactment, like it's not a decree. They made a takanta is an enactment, kind of like a law. A takana, right? A takana, just put it simply, right? A takanta is a takana, right? That you have to add the words to return the money. A takana to return the money. So Haikishu, this beam, the metalalta of the sukkah,
Just
the
the
gzula, right, that was stolen, after the Rabbanan made a takana to return the money. Okay. Mishum, because of takanas meresh. Takanas meresh, you could put, some people say morish. I heard people pronounce it differently.
Renewing, I think it's the
Morish. Morish.
That's
Some
a
people say
Morish.
Morish. Takanas Morish. I heard a Shia. Some said. So let's do Morish. Morish is. I think that's the way the Ilm says it. Takanas Morish. Now you could put Takanas Morish in quotes because that is a takana. That's the original one. So what Ravina is saying is that even by sukkah, by a beam in his sukkah, he made that takana. We should takanas Morish. Takanas Morish is the takana of a beam, which is the same thing which is the same thing as takanas hashavim.
You don't take apart the whole house. Just because
Exactly,
the brick was stolen.
exactly. Now, right, exactly.
That's
now,
Morish, or that's the takana of.
So Ravina enacted this takana even by a sukkah. Now
It's
look,
a separate takana, or it's the same?
no, it's based off that. He stretched it to even apply to sukkah. Now look at the second to last line of Rashi. Sometimes it's kishmak to see a Rashi, and you'll see why. Mishav takana is Morish. Everyone wants to know what is the chiddush here. V'loy amrinan, and we don't say that ain't kan hefsin meruba. There is no great loss. V'yistar sukkasai.
I mean, there is a great loss.
I mean, you're right. We don't say that a sukkah is not such a great loss. V'yistar sukkasai and demolish a sukkah. You know why we don't say that? You can make a dash. They put a comma there. The mitzvah mashmile kol shiva, because of the mitzvah, it's considered all 7 days kibinyan keva. What a geshmaka Rashi. Rashi's telling us that the beam gets into the sukkah. We have this takana, and we don't say, "Oh, look, it's only a temporary structure. Take it apart. Give back the beam. It's a 30 of sukkahs a chalamoid. You got to take it apart. Give back the beam." We don't say that. Why? Because says Rashi, since there's a mitzvah of sukkah is the mitzvah. The mitzvah makes that structure, although it makes that structure considered kva. Thank you so much.
Ravina holds sukkah needs to be kava?
No, it's not that sukkah needs to be kava, but for this halacha, your sukkah should not be taken down. You have the word. The word is that for this halacha,
The sukkah is alright, but
klape
for
no.
this you're considering kava?
Yeah, it's a geschmack of art. What we're saying, you hear what we're saying? What we're saying is that a sukkah really is arai. But regarding this halacha, this structure is not. It was like, let me just say it this way: we don't regard this structure as not chashiv. This structure is chashiv. Some structures are chashiv because they are prominent. They're big buildings, and therefore don't take down the beam. Some structures are chashiv because a mitzvah makes it
The
chashiv.
chiddush here is that even by sukkah, it would still this takana applies.
Exactly.
What can I say?
Not what?
What can I say? 'Cause, like, let's say the first day Yanta, can't take it down in Yanta.
You're right. So in Echanami, we won't be able to take it down.
We just
Nechanami.
want to handle all their.
Right. The truth is, this is good. You're asking good. Isn't the sukkah kind of off limits for all 7 days? It's kind of muktzah also. That you're asking good. You're asking good. Maybe, but how can we? Why don't we just say you can't take it down? I don't know if that's what Rashi is saying. But okay, let's just get back to it. What we're saying over here is that Ravina said that a beam that was put into a sukkah, a stone beam that was put into the sukkah, the Rabbanan extended the takana of takanas marish, which is a same thing as takanas hashavim, that if you build something within a structure, you're not required to demolish it. Beautiful. Now the Gemara says pshita. That's obvious. My shnoma eitzim. My shem eitzim is why is this different than eitzim? You can write a note on the side that we said earlier on the Amid that the takana applies. Earlier on the Amid, remember we said everyone agrees that if you stole the eitzim, so my shnam eitzim, why is it different than the eitzim, which we said earlier that the takana applies? We said before that takana applies to wood, meaning Rabbeinu is not saying a big chiddush about sukkah. We already discussed that earlier on the Amid, that Rabbanan and Rabbi Shimon ben Elazar and Rabbi Eliezer, both agree that eitzim, right? So my shnam eitzim.
Was there eitzim was the schach, and this is just
No, this could also. Let's see. I'm going to say you're right. So let's see. Hold on for 1 second. You're going to see.
End of question.
Excuse me. Yes. Question mark. Very good. Why should this be any different than wood? That we said earlier that you only, you write that the takana applies, or you write.
When we say eitzim, that's regarding what the
The
schach
eitzim.
or the.
That we said earlier on, if someone takes eitzim and he puts it on top of a sukkah.
So that's something they mean schach.
Yeah,
Specifically, not
exactly, yeah. So look what the Gemara is going to say over here. Yeah, that's important. So Gemara answers. So the question is that what is Ravina coming to say? What chiddush is Ravina adding here? Ravina's come to say that if you take a beam and you put it into your sukkah, you only have the takana applies and you only get the money, the value. We had this is not new to us. We discussed earlier about eitzim. So now here we're going to have to add in just a little bit of notes, not a lot, just a little bit, just for the clarity. Then where is it going to say Ma'odetema? You might think eitzim shchichi. Eitzim is common. You could say is found, which means, and therefore, 1 second. Eitzim is found, and if he gets money, he'll easily replace exactly. And with money, you can add this in. And with money, he'll easily replace the wood. That's a good note. And with money, he'll easily replace the wood. Eitzim shchichi. Eitzim is common. You can get a hold of wood, small twigs, small things, the branches. That's common. And with money, you can easily replace it. Aval high, but this beam, loy shchicha. This beam is not so common. Right? This beam is not so common. A beam is a piece of wood, but it's been fashioned and processed, and it wasn't so common. You had to work on. You had to work it. A maloi. Maybe money is not enough. Maybe you can't give money, and you'll have to take out the beam. A maloi. Maybe you have to take out the beam. Right? Amaloi. Maybe that the kana does not apply. That's the real tide here. Amaloi is that the kana does not apply. Amaloi, maybe that the kana does not apply. Amaloi, maybe that the kana does not apply because the guy's not going to be able to get a hold of another beam so easily. So, Amaloi, maybe that the kana doesn't apply. Kamash Malon is that it applies even to a beam. Amazing. Kamash Malon, period. Applies even to a beam. Good? Good, Clar? The Hani, yeah.
So when we're talking about the beam, what kind of beam we're talking about? We're talking about like a foundational beam kind of thing,
Well,
right?
it's a beam for a sukkah here, and so it could
Just
be
holding
one
it
of
up,
the
or
walls.
it's
It
like-
could be one of the walls even. One of the walls, yeah. But it was a processed piece of wood, which wasn't so readily available.
Like in
So-
these days, a seasoned wood.
So if something was already processed and fashioned, you might say, look, the wood on top, give him the money. He'll go ahead and buy it. He'll go right away. He'll be able to buy it, and many people sell it. But you want to get chashavu, a beam that is not so readily available, and maybe the takana doesn't apply.
So with
Kamash Malon, even to a beam it applies. Klar.
So without Ravina saying this, we wouldn't know this?
Yeah, exactly. That's where Ravina is coming to me mechadesh. Ravina has to add this chiddush because without Ravina, we would say something which isn't so easily replaceable. You don't apply this. Meaning, we're trying to help people do tshuva, but to some extent, but to a limit. We're not going to inconvenience the one who lost it so much. Imagine a guy lost the beam and he got it from. He had to travel 2 hours to get it. So here's $20, $100. The guy says, "Shkoyach, what about the beam? It's gonna." So exactly. Says the Gemara.
So the whole takana Hashem is only by something that's easily replaceable.
No, that's what we would have thought. Kamash Malon is that you would have thought Amaloi that maybe you shouldn't apply to the beam because the beam is not so easily replaceable, and maybe there giving back money is not enough. Kamash Malon that you can even give back money. Amazing. Kamash Malon can even give back money. Klar Gemara, yeah. Rameir Maskim. Good. Says the Gemara weiter. V'hani mili, and this only applies, meaning that v'hani mili and the takana apply, and the takana only applies.
Both the beam and the wood.
Exactly, yeah. And these takanas only apply. The hani mili, and these takanas apply. The goy shiva within the 7 days of Sukkot, right? The goy shiva within the 7 days of Sukkot, because if someone comes to you, Sukkahs, then you like Rashi said before, the sukkah is a real structure. On sukkahs, the sukkah is chashuv.
Yeah. That's what's with
Kama,
the story.
right? Exactly. Labasa shiva. This exactly. That's why everything comes together. Labasa shiva after 7 days. Hadar be'enei. Return it as is, meaning give back the beam. Return the beam. Hadar be'enei. Return it to him.
Why?
Because after that, you take down your sukkah.
Let's say I don't.
So Avrami's.
Because just
And if you
now-
give him
just
the
now
money
we just
value
said we
during
don't care
Sukkot, you
about
still
the
have to
person
give back
eating
the
it or
beam
not.
after?
Oh no, we do care, but the once overriding. But if look, the part is that look, we have rachmanas on you because you want to do tshuva, but that's and you built into the house, you built into the sukkah. But if you're going to demolish your sukkah, and there's no issue of you demolishing it, you don't plan on keeping it around, then in the chanami, take it down. Now look in the next line.
What if he gave him the money value during Sukkot? Does he still have to give him back
No.
the beam after?
No, because that's what we said. You remember yesterday, the Ksav Sefer was saying that he didn't want to pay money. Once he pays money, once he issues the psak to give money, he doesn't get the beam after that. So he was trying to push her off till after Sukkot. Says the Gemara, this is what Rav Rami was asking before a little bit. V'i chibroi betina, and if you attached it with cement, which means that you, right, which means you want it there long term. If you attach it with cement, which means long term, you write it long term. Even after Yom Tif, even after the 7 days, Nami Yavle Demei, he'll also give him money like any other building. Meaning, it's not. We don't care how it started off. But if you start off and you built a permanent sukkah, some people built a sukkah and they keep it all year round, which means he attached it with cement. He really built the beams. Remember, the beams you're allowed to put cement on. The schach you can't, but he took this beam and he attached it in and he plans on keeping it there. Rashi says like V'chibra B'tina. Rashi says Habalei Kishar B'nyan Kavur. That's like every other building because it's a long term. This is a long term idea. Klar. Okay, now we're jumping right back. So this was a little bit of sukkah in the middle of the parak of lulav of discussing the dal and minim. Now we're getting back to lulav and esrog here. So this is so important. Everything here is so valuable. We discussed so many important things that are going to keep repeating. Here we handled mitzvah b'beiro. Over here we're handling gezela, tana. Now look what we're going to discuss over here. Tana, yavesh pasal. Look at this. Yavesh pasal.
Hadas?
This is let's see. We're not going to listen. No, everyone's wondering what are we talking about over here. Tana, we learned in a brayso Yavesh Pasal, Rabbi Yehuda Machsher. Rabbi Yehuda holds it's kosher. We're second, and we didn't discuss what we're talking about. Esther, Lulav, Hadas, Clark.
On the Sukkot.
Well, no, we're going back to Dalar Minim now. Oh, we don't know yet. Let's see.
Oh,
And we'll just wait. Tana, we learned in a brayso Yavesh. If it's dry, it's Pasal. Rabbi Yehuda Machsher. Rabbi Yehuda holds it's okay. Amar Rava says. Machlokes, this machlokes, the lulav is by a lulav. Okay, and obviously our Mishnah that says pasal is like the Rabbanan, right? Our Mishnah says pasal. We're not obviously don't hold up Rabbi Yehuda, but let's see what the Rabbi says. Rava, machlokes, excuse me, machlokes the lulav is by a lulav. The Rabbanan Sabri, because the Rabbanan hold, right? The Rabbanan who hold that it's pasal. The Rabbanan hold a dry lulav is pasal. Makshinon, they compare, like they make a hekesh, right? That's Makshinon means they make a hekesh. A hekesh is a way to make a drasha. Lulav le'esrig, they compare lulav to esrig. Because Rabbi say, I'll say the pasuk out loud. V'kachtam lechem pre-eitz hadar. Pre-eitz hadar. Where's hadar going on? The pasuk says, "L'kach lachem
well, we know
pre-eitz."
that it's going on the Esther.
Oh.
We learn out everything from
That's
Esther.
what we're talking about right now. This is the Gemara. Oh, exactly. So that's what the pasuk says. "V'kach lachem b'yom rishon pre-eitz hadar." Pre-eitz hadar is esrog, and it says hadar esrog. Then it says after it's kapas tamarim, which means a date branch. V'anav it's avois, and that's hadasim ba'avi nachal. But so now we say Rabbanan Sabri Makshina Lulav
Does it go
esrog.
both ways? That you'd have to tie the esrog also?
No, it's interestingly we only apply. We'll only take Hadar, exactly. Gavaldik. So I want you to know over here that I'm not getting into it over here, but there's a Messiah. It happens to be on this daf. This is where it's discussed as a Messiah. Which Rosh Hashanah to make? you can't just make. You have to have a Mesorah of which hekesh allowed to make, which Gezer Shavi allowed to make.
So
And
what's the Horror Kiva thing? The Essence Shabbatara spiel. He
Shabbat
had a thing for each one. So what was his major village?
oh, you're saying he darshaned it.
Saying if he darshan it,
You're
obviously.
saying Gavaldi, you're saying very, very good. You're saying very, very good. You're saying very, very good. But it happens to be, you're saying good. We're saying, well, I'm saying there's a Mesorah, and Rabbi Kiva darshan all the Essen. So the Essen, it could be what you call a riboy, is a riboy. Every S is coming to includes something else. But regarding the 13, there's something called the Shleish Esrei Midah Shatar Diknas Ben.
Yeah.
Have to heck is not part of it, but that is quite a, what?
Most people say everything.
Right, so the Shleish Esrei Midas, Shleish Esrei Midas Shatar Diknas Ben, that you need a Mesorah for.
That's what you.
Says the Gemara. The Bonan Savri Makshina, we compare Lulav Esrig. Ma Esrig, just like an Esrig boy Hadar needs to be Hadar, Af Lulav boy Hadar. Af Lulav boy Hadar. Lulav also needs to be Hadar. So that's simple, straightforward. Rabbanan Savri, Rabbanan hold, Loy Makshinan, Lulav, I'm sorry, Rabbi Huda, excuse me, Rabbi Huda Savri, Rabbi Huda holds, Loy Makshinan Lulav to Esrig. We don't compare Lulav to Esrig.
Everybody else. That's
Right? I'm sorry, excuse me, Abba Esrig, but by an Esrig, Divria called, everyone agrees, Hadar Be'inan, that you need it to be Hadar. So I'm just going to read 3 more lines over here. So right now, according to Rabbi Huda, you don't need a lulav to be Hadar, and therefore dry lulav is okay. Now, it's not so simple to get a real dry lulav. There's a story brought in Ramosha Feinstein's Zatzal's biography that he went in Russia. I think it was in Russia. He had a lulav for 3 years, and the whole town used his lulav for 3 years because they only had one lulav, and the last of 3 years they couldn't get hold of the lulav in there. And he had a lulav for 3 years. So sometimes the guy's a lulav 1 year to year. And it's not so easy to get a real dry lulav. So you see, for 3 years it was okay.
They did it for many years. Somewhere, I feel like I learned it somewhere.
Well, that they.
They said Ein Shas Al Chak.
Oh, you're saying Gevaldik.
That was Mikdash. That was by the Beis Mikdash, wasn't it?
I don't remember.
Sorry, wasn't that by the Beis Mikdash?
Amir is saying that we had a Gemara.
We had it already?
Where's that?
We didn't have it.
Or that's coming up?
Okay.
Okay. No, we didn't. We didn't come across in the Chazal. If we did on this site, everyone's having.
No, that's the Gemara at the top of the Laman.
Good. Because if we did it, everyone's getting a knas to do the whole
15 years
6.
ago.
If we
6
did
and
it,
1?
good. If we did it, then everyone's getting a knas to do the whole Chazar again. We're gonna stop right now.
Everyone's making another $100.
I'm trying to. So let's go. So here we go, boys. Look at this. Rabbi Huda, Bululav loy by no. It sounds. Bululav loy by Rabbi Huda Hadar.
That used to give to their grandkids.
Oh, so let's see. Bululav loy by Rabbi Huda Hadar, and by Lulav Rabbi Huda doesn't need Hadar. Vatanan, Rabbi Huda says, this is from our Mishnah. Our Mishnah said earlier, Rabbi Huda Amar Yagdenu Malamala. You should tie the leaves on top. If they spread out.
The kid doesn't know that it's harder.
Oh, look at this. 1 second. Hold on. Look at this.
Dropping the gun.
Oh, so if you should tie Yagdenu Lamal, you tie the leaves on top if they spread out. Remember we had Nifrudu Alav, this kasher. Then we just said Yagdenu Malamalo. Right? Nifrudu Alav. So my timer, what's the reason why you have to tie it on top? La Mishum de Hadar? Question mark. Is it not because Rabbi Yehuda needs Hadar? I mean, why is Rabbi Yehuda? I mean, we assume Rabbi Yehuda holds its kasher, but it's not Hadar. I mean, it's lacking Hadar. So that would challenge what we just said. Rabbi Yehuda doesn't need Hadar. The man says, "Loi, no." Kidek Tani Taima, like we learned, the reason Rabbi Yehuda Oimer, Mishum Rab Tarfon, in the name of Rab Tarfon, Kapos Tamorim. Put that in quotes. Kapos Tamorim means a date branch, and that really means a lulav. Right? And kafus means bound. Bound. Meaning really the word kafus tamara means a day branch. And he reads a kafus like a command. He's understanding it that the Torah is giving us a commandment. Kafus, not just kafus tamara. Read it as kafus. tie it together, which means v'mhoya parud. If it separates, yichaftenu, you should tie it together. Meaning he's understanding that the Torah, right? That the Torah is telling us that as a commandment, tie it together, kapish tamar.
Maybe that's because of Hadar. The word before.
Oh, he's saying
Yeah,
it. You're saying very good. No, but you're saying. But then technically you wouldn't need anything. You wouldn't need a pasuk to tell you what to do. Hadar would mean you don't need any other pasuk. I hear what you're saying, but maybe would.
No, because the hekesh we are making is from Esrog to look. Here, the word that they're right next to each other. That is what's next to each other. It's Hadar
Right.
and Kappas.
Right.
And Kappas Torah. We're not using the word. That's how we're making the hekesh.
Oh, I hear what you're saying. I hear what you're saying. He's saying. I like what you're saying.
Oh, what's your opinion on what Kabbas means?
No, kapish means a day branch. They don't make this extra drush off kafis. Tying
Why
it.
is tying it considered hadar?
No. One second.
That
No,
should
one
be
second.
spread out.
It's not hadar. The concern here is not hadar. Rabbi Yehuda reads that. Rabbi Yehuda, no, one second. I want to clarify this. The Gemara said Rabbi Yehuda doesn't hold up hadar. How can you say that? Rabbi Yehuda holds you have to tie the leaves if they spread apart. The Gemara says that's not because of hadar. That's because there's the way he reads the words is that the Torah gave you a commandment that your lulav has to be tied together. Nothing to do with hadar. It's not a fulfillment of hadar.
But why would the Gemara even think
Steve
that
wants
it's
to know what
because
the
of
Havamina
hadar?
was.
Right, what was the Havamina to even think that?
No, I don't
Yeah.
know.
What's the
Oh,
other?
because if the leaves spread apart, the Gemara assumes that that's not beautiful. That's not that. The Gemara assumes that it doesn't have a nice appearance. Imagine a lulav that's got leaves like
Different. I'll
that.
give you a good mashal. You have a Lubavitcher beard, and then you have like a nice, tightly kept, like
Chassidus
bear
beard.
I have
beard
the
that
like
they
the
tie
Lubavitcher
together.
beard style. That's my
No,
style.
meaning it's a frazzle. Some people, it's other.
I think that's hadar. Or like this, you know.
So